Over the past 20, 30 years or so, many small business owners have been adopting a sadly misconceived idea that they're not in the business of providing goods and services, but that they're in the business of making money. Hi, and welcome. I'm here to discuss the issues that concern us in our 50s and 60s and beyond. My name is Bob, and I'm the Crusty Creator. This concept isn't new. When General Motors canceled the Corvette Grand Sport project in the 1960s, they told the designer, "We're not in business to build cars. We're in business to make money." Business schools have been teaching this philosophy along with the idea that everything is ethical as long as it maximizes stockholder value. And these ideas are entirely wrong thinking to my mind. And it's precisely why there are so many shady business practices, crappy products, and shoddy services out there now. I'm not saying that businesses shouldn't be profitable. No business exists with the idea that it's going to lose money or that it's going to break even. Unless it's a charity, profit is the desired outcome, and that's fine. The person with the idea and who took the risk in the beginning should see a return on their investment. Absolutely. This video isn't about CEO salaries, although that topic probably deserves its own video. No, this is about the misplaced importance of the bottom line above all else. Let's take a step back and look in days gone by. Let's look at those old family-run businesses. Towns were small. Reputations mattered. A shopkeeper who sold shovels for top dollar that broke while you were shoveling snow, or the wheelwright who cut corners on their materials for wagon wheels and those wagon wheels fell apart in a few months. Those people would have been run out of business or worse. But the people who did the best job building what people needed at a reasonable price would be seen as offering great value, and they would corner the market. So, following that demonstrated fact, in my mind at least, a properly run business is not in the business of making money. They are in the business of providing goods and services. And if they do that well enough, then the money, along with market share growth, will necessarily follow. Profit can and should be the goal, but it shouldn't be the means and the end. Focusing on the bottom line above providing value might bring in more revenue at first, but it's going to be short-lived, and that business itself is destined to fail if customers don't get value. So let's look at a real-world example. Let's say you're an IT support company with clients that are spread out over a large geographical area. You visit those customer sites periodically and do updates, read the logs, manage backups, that kind of thing. And you charge a set rate for that service. There is site-to-site travel time involved, and there's a lot of waiting around by the tech for the processes to happen, downloads, updates, and so on. So in a given workday, a mobile tech can visit 2, maybe 3 client sites. At a certain point, you discover that you can do a lot of that work remotely. Not all of it, but a lot of it. The remote tech no longer has to sit around waiting for processes to end. They can work on another client's systems while they're waiting. Because of being able to work on multiple clients' needs simultaneously, you find that you could service up to 10 client sites a day at the same price as before. The increase of productivity could represent the ability to take on more new business or to reduce the number of techs you have to have, all of which will increase net profits. But despite the increase in revenues from better workflow and increased efficiency, too many modern business owners would insist that the client pays for the equipment or the software required for remote access because they're resistant to investing in improving the services that they provide. And let's look at this from the client side. What is the benefit to them? If they choose not to spend the money on remote services and instead decide to stay with the on-site services they've always had, they still get their needs met. They still pay out the same amount of money. But the IT company doesn't get to see the increased productivity and revenue that you would have received had they gone with a remote solution. Now, if that IT company decides they're going to offset that increased cost by increasing the prices to the customer, that customer will simply find another provider. This principle applies in retail, food services, musical instruments, medical devices, cars, and everything else. People are tired of being ripped off, so some business owner can afford to buy another Porsche or a Caribbean cruise. Consumers want to buy something and own it. They do not want subscription-based purchases. They provide zero value. I refuse to be on the pay forever system. If the software that I use moves to a subscription model, I move to different software. When I buy my next car, it will be mine, without any annual recurring charges to keep the heater working. If I can't find a new car that gives me total access and total autonomy on my vehicle that I paid for, I'll keep my existing car or I'll buy a classic that's been restored. Customers don't care about the business's bottom line or their stockholders. If they don't get value for their money, they'll go elsewhere. If businesses provide cheap goods or shoddy service or insist on squeezing every last bit of monetization out in order to maximize profits, they will, or at least should, go out of business pretty quickly. If you have something to add to this, please leave a comment down below. But as always, let's keep it respectful and let's keep it civil. And if you like my content, please consider subscribing and liking, and maybe even ring the little bell so you can be alerted next time I release a new video. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.